Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Duel to the Death. This time we're going to be talking about Trynd versus Vayne. This matchup is actually surprisingly interesting for both players to play. You may think of it as something simple as, oh, you just simply kite him out, and oh, he just jumps in you and one-shots you, and there's no really in-between, but there's actually a lot of nuance to the matchup. For instance, when do you E him? When do you use your stealth tumble? How do you dodge his mocking shout? How do you time out his ultimate? All of these questions are actually more complicated and interesting than one would initially think. That's enough pleasantries for now. Let's get right into it. So, just like in our previous episode, let's go over the basics of what Tryndamere's kit does, and talk about exactly everything you need to know about it in order to best understand how to counter him. So first off, the most important part of Tryndamere's kit is obviously his rage bar. The higher that rage bar is filled up, the more likely he is to crit, meaning he basically does a lot more damage when he is full on rage. When he doesn't have a rage bar, Tryndamere is actually not that scary. So if you're engaging in a 1v1 and he doesn't have his rage bar fully stacked up, you're in a pretty good spot. If he does though, you gotta be a lot more cautious. Tryndamere does have a heal in his kit, but it does consume all of his rage. That means that if you see him heal in the middle of a fight, he doesn't have nearly as much damage as he used to, and you don't have to worry about it so much. Typically, you can expect Tryndamere players to use this ability after their ult runs out, because they are about to die, and therefore they'll use the heal to try and get one last desperate set of autos to try and finish you off. His W is called Mocking Shout, and this ability will put a pretty gnarly slow on you if you are facing away from him when he casts it. So for a perspective point, if you are having your back to him and he presses W, that will slow you down. But if you are facing him, it won't actually do anything. And then, obviously, his E is his spinning slash, and we all know what his ultimate does. He can't die, and it gives him between 50 and 100 rage, depending on what level his ult is. When you guys are thinking about how you want to play a 1v1, it is best to take stock of what you can do and what the enemies can do. And the best way I like to think about this is that each person has a toolbox with a certain amount of tools in it. Let's talk about that for a second. What do I mean by toolbox? Think about Vayne. What do you have at your disposal? You have stealth tumbles, you have your E knockback that can potentially stun, and you have your Bork. Everything else in your kit is pretty much just damage, but those are three primary tools you have. You have a mild dash, 1 second stealth, you have a knockback that can stun, and you have a Bork slow. So those are three tricks that you have up your sleeve. You can tumble anywhere between every 2 and 1 second, depending on what rank you have the ability, and you can Bork once in a fight, and realistically speaking, you can E once in a fight. Tryndamere, in his toolkit, has a slow. He may have a Bork, depending on his build. Probably not, but he may. He has his E, which is a gap closer, and he has his ult to buy himself extra time and to give himself many crits. So he can E multiple times in a fight. It's anywhere between a 4-ish second cooldown, as I believe is as low as it can get. And his ult, obviously, he can use only once. And for all practical purposes, he can only use his W once. So he really has, and obviously you guys both have Flash, and you have Heal for a small movement speed increase. He probably has Ignite to deny your healing. So we've got kind of all of these different pieces together. And the way you win a 1v1 is that you use all of your toolbox tricks to counter all of his toolbox tricks, and then you DPS him in between the times in which he can't get on top of you. So that's the kind of perspective I want you to have when you're thinking about this. So let's talk about what you should do when certain things happen to you. For instance, let's say you're in the 1v1 and it can start in a whole host of ways. Let's say he jumps on top of you, you jump on him, but for all intensive purposes, it will be most difficult when you don't get to start the fight. So let's say you're farming at a minion wave and he just jumps on you. The first thing he's going to do is he's probably going to E onto you. What should your response be? Well, first and foremost, you always want to be thinking about, can I hit a wall stun? Most of the time, the answer is no. He will not be positioned where you can wall stun him, but you can use it to knock him away. The trick about using your condemn, and I guess I'll just kind of slide into talking about how you should use your E in this 1v1, the best way to use your condemn is when he doesn't have his E off cooldown. If you think about it, if you use your condemn when Tryndamere has his spinning slash up, you've accomplished nothing. You've knocked him away and he just slides right back on top of you. So, obviously, if you're being engaged on and you know he still has a spinning slash, you should stealth tumble. Now, how should you be using these stealth tumbles here? Most importantly, not as an auto attack reset. The entire point of your stealth tumble is it gives you a sort of safe space that you can hide in invisibly while he's still chasing you around. So every 2 seconds, for 1 second, you pretty much have Kale ult, for all intensive purposes, because he can't be auto-attacking you when you're stealth. So, obviously, if you guys have seen my other video about kiting, I think it's the second episode of kiting, you want to just sit in stealth for the full 1 second. You want to be in there, and you want to get it to where he runs away from you. Obviously, you want to stealth tumble in unpredictable directions so he kind of chases you the wrong way. If he follows you, then obviously that's bad. And this is where the idea of your Bork and your Flash come in, because those should be backup plans for when your stealth tumble doesn't work. Let's say you stealth tumble one way, and you did a really obvious one, or he read you really well, whatever the case may be, and he's just right on top of you the whole time. At that point, that's when you want to Bork him and use the burst of movement speed to run away. Now, typically what will happen is that if he knows that your tumble is on cooldown, and he has no E, and you are not W slowed, that is when he's going to use your flash. And in this 1v1, pretty much the best approach to take is either A, using your flash for a condemn stun, or B, flash for flash. If he flashes on you, you flash away. Overall, you do have more tools in your kit to kite him, but the ultimate is what makes this tricky. He can outlast you. If Tryndamere didn't have an ult, this wouldn't be a very complicated 1v1. But because he can use his ultimate to essentially do the same thing that you do with your ultimate. So this is actually a long 1v1. You should be playing this 1v1 with the understanding that it will probably last about 10 seconds, right? This is not some flashy thing where Zed jumps on you and you just blow him up or he blows you up. This is slow and this has to be calculated. This is most important in the fact that you need to not panic. When he jumps on you, don't immediately just be like, stealth tumble E Bork flash. It's just like, no. You have to use your resources piecewise, right? It's like a chess game. Stay calm. If he moves his pawn to b2, you gotta move your rook to c5 or some shit. I don't know. I don't play chess. But it's that kind of idea. Just calmly know that when he uses a tool, you use a tool. He uses a tool, you use a tool. Ulting early is best. If you hold on to your ult, you're going to regret it. You just pretty much have to sit in his damage. And obviously, the more fed this Tryndamere is, the more difficult this 1v1 is going to be. But if you play it correctly and you kite him correctly, it'll be easier. Obviously, this is much, much easier if you have something like a Phantom Dancer. The more items you have on Vayne, the easier this 1v1 gets. But that's enough discussion about theory and stuff. Let's look at an example where I 1v1 at Tryndamere in a pretty typical situation. So in any case, I round this corner, I see Tryndamere is absolutely full on rage, and he's ready to smack my ass, right? So I'm a little ambition nervous, but I'm going to see how it goes. So watching the start to this 1v1, I round the corner, and I'm going to slow this down a lot. And I walk up for the auto to get the red buff proc on him, and I instantly see him spin in on me. So at this point, typically in the 1v1, you would have two decent options, right? He just used his spin, so you can either E him away, or if you're feeling like you want to save it to try to go for a wall stun or something, which is a totally fine option, you can do just what I do. So I ult, and I just tumble out, right? Canceled an auto there. That wasn't super good. I shouldn't have gone for the auto to begin with. So then I tumble towards my tower, right? Obviously going towards safety. So he knows which way I'm going. So I sit in stealth, and then I get my auto off, right? Now, because of the Vayne buffs, your tumble is going to be up relatively quickly. So what you want to do here is you want to just keep kiting him, right? Keep running away from him. Obviously, he's committing to the dive right now by running at me, so I know he's planning on ulting and trying to smack me. And believe me, this guy is got 2 kills right now. He's a level up on me. He does big boy damage. So he swings in and just hits me for a 300 damage crit. So at this point in time, again, all you have to do is just beat him at his own game. Just stealth tumble again. So he's going to go for another auto attack. I'm going to Bork him to get some slow, and then that gives me a nice little movement speed boost because he burned his flash, and I'm just going to tumble again. And the whole point, see how, like, I'm not turning around, I'm not trying to kite him or anything, waiting for the spin, and then I just tumble out. You can kind of trick him by tumbling through him or whatever. So at this point, again, like, I'm just keeping maximum distance, kind of leashing him, soft leashing, and then I go for 2 more autos, and he's gone, right? So like I said, the whole entire point of this strategy is that you don't need to sit there and keep autoing him, right? Don't keep whacking. Just hide in stealth. You will out DPS him and pretty much only take risk-free auto attacks. Only go for him when he's stunned or when his spin is on cooldown. and he should never get more than one auto on you. Before you stealth tumble away, you walk away from him, and then you just keep going autos and chipping him down. Your ult lasts for about as long as his does, so you can just outlast him in this way, right? Even with Flash, if you use your Bork properly, if you use your Condemn right, if you use your Ultimate right, and your Stealth Tumbles right, should be no problem for you to take care of any obnoxious Tryndamere split pusher. That's all for today, guys. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.
No, I'll go.
Please, God, no. They don't need to hear that.